Hello, I'm Daniel Dolce, the designer of Daniel Dolce Italy, a fine collection of dress shirts, neckwear, cufflinks, scarves and mufflers, and sports shirts. Today I'm going to spend a few minutes with you telling you about the quality of the product, why it's so special, how I design it, and to assist me with this is going to be the spokesmodel for the line and the face of the advertising campaign, Shane Duffy. Shane, thanks for joining me today for this presentation.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good. Shane and I have done a number of personal appearances throughout the country. We've been on television interviews and many newspaper interviews as well. And Shane is an Afghan war veteran. Shane, I know that a lot of our viewers would love to know, how did you transition from an Afghan war veteran to a model in the top fashion magazines in the United States?
Well, you know, I actually never thought that I was going to be a model. I went to college and got my education, but then I kind of fell into it. And I tell you one thing, that I'd rather be shot at by a camera than by bullets. That's all I have to say.
All right. I think that's a fair enough evaluation. So now let's talk about the actual products, and let me explain them to you. So I'm going to start out with discussing the way that the collar of the shirt is done. I spent a long time making sure that the balance of the collar, that is the spread, works with virtually any face. So this spread is designed specifically to work beautifully with what's called the scoop of the cape of the collar, which is a little bit wider. It works with virtually any lapel that would be on a suit that a man might be wearing with it. One of the great quality features about this shirt is that once we make the body of the shirt, we actually stop the production and set in the sleeve as a completely separate operation. This is very costly to do, but makes the fit that much better. Your arm naturally hangs like this, not like this. When Shane was in Afghanistan, yes, his arms were standing at attention. But now that he's a civilian, he's relaxed, as most of us are. And because of that, we stop the seam right under the arm and then set in a separate seam all the way down the sleeve. This is a wonderful quality touch, and that enables us to make the chest of the shirt slightly fuller and the body of the shirt slightly tapered. I call this a gentleman's taper, and it fits most men very, very well. The slimming effect is one that is more visual than being tight, and that's one of the reasons that the shirt has been so successful with so many customers. The neckties are all handmade in Italy with the most exquisite silk, and all of these have the best construction. I'm actually going to show you a little bit about the great quality of the construction here. All of my ties are hand slip stitched. The slip stitching is the spine of the tie, and that's what helps it keep its shape so well. I have a self fabric loop which keeps the small end of the tie in place, and the tie is hand bar tacked. So this tie has a very, very beautiful body to it. It really has a wonderful feel to it. Holds its shape beautifully once it's unknotted and will hang perfectly straight. One other thing about my shirts, all the fabrics are made in Italy, and all of the shirts are made in Italy as well. So the shirts and the ties are all Italian. I want to talk a little bit about cufflinks now, and we're going to discuss them in depth a little bit later on. I'm very well known for using exquisite, unusual shapes, beautiful stones, unusual settings in all of my cufflinks. Cufflinks is where I actually started the business, and then went into shirts and ties. This is a very good example, a typical example of what Daniel Dolce is about, using different geometric shapes, squares, triangles, trapezoids, rectangles, triangles, all kinds of things in a very unique setting. I color them. This particular one is inlaid mother of pearl, which is a material that I love using, with all colorations that work back with the shirts and the ties. One of the things that I'm very well known for is aesthetic compatibility between the shirts, the ties, and the cufflinks, so that a man can feel that he's put together without being overly coordinated. So now I'd like to show you some of the specific selections of shirts and ties that are new for this season. What gives my shirts and ties such a distinctive look are the unique ways that I combine color and pattern. It's the unexpected use of color. I like to think of these as a look that will be a welcomed part of any man's wardrobe. There's just no substitute for quality in fabric and construction, and my shirts and ties represent the best of both attributes. And now we're going to talk about cufflinks. One of my favorite groups is high-fired glass. Shane is going to show you an example of one now that is one of my favorites in this group. I can truly tell you that each of these sets is one of a kind, and that's because they cannot make two that are identical. These are actually made in the United States. What I do with the people who make these, I tell them the colors that I'm working in every season, and they then throw the glass to work with those colors in the shirts and the ties. So there's an aesthetic compatibility about the way that the cufflinks work with the rest of the dress furnishings. Each one is different. This particular one almost looks like a blooming flower, as does the one next to it. You'll see in this collection in your store that there are numerous combinations of the way colors work, the way the patterns are thrown within the glass. Really interesting. I love working in this because you never quite know how it's going to turn out. I get inspiration for designing cufflinks from so many different places. The group that I'm showing you here are part of the collection that were taken from a Medici chapel outside of Florence. The chapel is actually attached to the palace. The one that Shane is going to show you is actually a miniaturized version of the marble tile on the floor of that chapel, which the Medici family walked on for centuries. This particular one is really unique. I love the way it was designed. I take all my own colors and recolor the colors of the tiles in colors that will reflect in my collection. Some of these are taken from stained glass windows within the chapel, and others from different parts of flooring within the chapel itself. Really unique, very, very colorful, and really interesting. One of the other inspirations for my cufflinks is Islamic art. Shane is going to show you one that was taken from an Islamic ceramic bowl. I miniaturized the design of the bowl and then did my own colors in it. Islamic art is very rich in its tradition, and I get ideas from tapestries, from rugs, from other pieces of Islamic art design. It's a very rich inspiration for colors. And of course, in taking those designs, I use all of my own colors to make them my own statement. Another material that I use very frequently is inlaid mother of pearl. Shane is going to show you one of my favorites, which is a green color in a rectangular shape. Using inlaid mother of pearl gives you such a beautiful, rich color resonance because of the way that it reflects the light. I do so many designs in this material that it would be impossible to show you everything, and I just wanted to show you a couple of my favorites today in this group. And now for the last group. First is a beautiful faceted stone in a setting that was taken from a porthole of the SS France, the famous ocean liner. Second is a great example of using different shades of pink on a white ground. The sizes of the circles are all varied, but symmetrically spaced, which gives it a really interesting look. And that's the world of Daniel Dolce Italy for this season.